Hey guitar fanatics, I did a video last week on the modes of the major scale, specifically the major modes of the major scale. If you haven't seen that video, you should probably check it out. You can do that right here. And as promised in that video, today we're going to take a look at the minor modes within a major key. We're going to see how they're built, we're going to play through them, and we're really going to get the special sound of each mode set in our ears. We're going to talk about how to practice and use them, and you're going to be on your way to being a modal master in no time. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you really want to support the channel, I've got a course out on some great blues soloing concepts. If you're into that, I put the link in the description down below. Again, thanks for watching. I'm Charlie Long. Let's play some guitar. Let's start with a recap of the video I did on those major modes and talk about how I'd like you to think about, see, and hear the modes. You know, sometimes we're told to see the 7 modes of the major scale as basically the notes of that major scale starting from and playing to one of the notes of the scale. For example, if we take the C major scale, start it on F and play it to F, that would give us the F Lydian mode. And while that's technically true, thinking about it that way doesn't really teach you anything about what makes the Lydian mode unique and special. I think it's more beneficial to learn all the modes from the same root note. This is called creating parallel modes. Starting with the major scale of a particular root note, I think you should learn to play each mode by learning its formula and what makes it different from the major scale. And I think we can make this easier by breaking those 7 modes into 2 categories, major and minor. That way we can more easily concentrate on and remember what makes each mode different from its other major or minor counterparts. So in the last video I did on modes, we concentrated on 3 major modes: Aeolian, Lydian, and Mixolydian. We learned that Aeolian mode is comprised of a root, the 2nd, major 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, and the major 7th intervals. For this video, we're going to be playing in the key of E major so we can pedal that low E note and really hear the sound of each mode against its root. So here's E Ionian, or the major scale. To get the Lydian mode, we make the 4th degree of the mode sharp, and it sounds like this. There's a little more tension and it sounds sort of mysterious. To get Mixolydian, we go back to the major scale and we flatten the 7th interval. This mode works beautifully over dominant 7th chords because those chords have a major 3rd and a flat 7 also. So here's Ionian. Here's Lydian with that sharp 4. And now here's Mixolydian with the flat 7. Kind of laid back and playful to my ears, and you hear it all the time in country, rock, and blues guitar playing. It's a super useful mode. I think it's super helpful to see Lydian and Mixolydian as a major scale with one note changed. And that one note is the secret sauce that gives the mode its distinctive color, flavor, mood, sound, whatever you want to call it. I think it's equally helpful to learn the minor modes in the same way. And to do that, we have to start with the natural minor, or the Aeolian mode. Let's compare the natural minor to the major scale and get used to that formula and that sound. So the major scale, as we said before, we have the root, the 2nd, the major 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, 7th, and then we're back to our octave. So natural minor, we have our root, the 2nd, but the flat 3rd, the minor 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the flat 6th, the flat or minor 7th, and then we're back to our root. So Aeolian differs from the major scale, first and foremost because of that flat or minor third, which is the defining sound of minor scales and chords. As in our last video, I'm going to recommend that you get used to playing all of these modes one octave everywhere you can find that root note on the fretboard. I also want you practicing those one octave patterns starting with 3 different fingers, starting with our index finger, our second finger, and our pinky. We'll talk more about practicing in a minute, so you got to stick around. The next mode I want to talk about is Dorian mode, and it's another super useful mode. To get the Dorian mode, we take the natural minor and we raise that 6th degree. So let's compare it to Aeolian. Here's natural minor with a flat 6th. Here's Dorian with the 6th degree raised a half step. Aeolian, Dorian. This mode works great over a Santana-esque progression like E minor to A minor, or a minor chord followed by a major chord a fourth above it, which is E minor to A minor. That's because the raised 6 of Dorian mode is the same note as the major third of the major chord. In the case of E, it's C sharp. So if we play natural minor over the progression E minor to A, in natural minor, we get a C natural. So we get C natural versus C sharp or on top of C sharp, which just sounds awful. If you want to hear a great example of a Dorian sound, check out the Joe Satriani song, Cool No. 9, where he sets up this sort of spooky C Dorian sound by vamping on the notes E flat and A, which it's the minor third and it's the 6th of C, while the bass is playing C, D, and E flat. And it's really easy to hear the first 6 notes of that Dorian mode. That moves us on to the Phrygian mode. Now, Phrygian differs from Aeolian in that it's got a flat 2nd. So here's Aeolian. We've got root, 2nd, minor 3rd, 4th, 5th, flat 6th, flat 7th, and our root. Here's Phrygian. Root, flat 2nd, minor 3rd, 4th, 5th, flat 6th, minor 7th, and the root. Oddly enough, although it's a minor mode, the sound of Phrygian really comes alive when played over 3 major chords. So the major chord of its root, the major chord a half step above, and the major third a minor third above the root. So in E, that's E, F, G. And against those chords, you can really hear the flavor of the mode and how it sounds Spanish. Many people think of flamenco music when they hear Phrygian. To hear Phrygian in a heavy tune, check out the Joe Satriani song War off the Extremist record. It sounds like this. Now, I know I've mentioned a few of Joe's songs in these videos. The reason is he composes a lot of his songs using very evident modal chord progressions and melodies. He makes these sounds very easy to hear and understand, so his music is great for helping to learn this stuff. So this brings us to Locrian mode. Locrian mode is kind of an oddball because we're going to have to alter 2 notes from natural minor to get Locrian. We're going to have the flat second like in Phrygian, but we're also going to flat the 5. Now, the music theory police seem to be up in arms about whether this mode is actually minor or whether it's more diminished, because the triad built off the root, it's got a root, a minor third, and a flat 5, which is a diminished triad. I don't really worry about that kind of stuff because I'd rather play guitar than play music Trivial Pursuit. What's important is getting an idea of how it sounds, and it's a dark sounding mode with all those flats. So here's Aeolian, root, second, third, fourth, fifth, flat 6, flat 7, octave. Here's Locrian, root, flat second, minor third, fourth, flat 5th, flat 6th, flat 7, octave. As far as using the Locrian mode, you can check out a song called YYZ by Rush. You're not really going to hear this mode used a whole lot. I guess the most proper way of using it would be over a minor 2-5-1 progression where you'd have chords like E minor 7 flat 5, A altered dominant, and then some D minor variation. I like making up lines using E Locrian over the minor 7 flat 5, A sharp diminished over the altered, resolving to the D minor. Or you could use Locrian, followed by A altered or super Locrian, resolving to the D minor. So those are the minor modes. Let's talk about practicing. The first way would be to play our 1-octave examples with the root on the 6th, 5th, 4th, and 3rd strings, as we did in our other video on the major modes. I'd want you to start each mode with 3 different fingers of your fretting hand: the index finger, the middle finger, and your pinky. So let me run through these quickly, starting on the E at the 7th fret of the A string. And I'm leaving it up to you guys to find the other positions. So for instance, here's Aeolian. Here's Dorian. Here's Phrygian. Here's Locrian. So we're playing all these modes in E today because we mentioned earlier it's great to pedal against that low E, and you can even play sort of an ambiguous chord. I'm playing basically root and 5th, E, E, B, E, B, E. Now as you get used to the fingerings and more importantly the sound of each mode, I'd want you to branch out and play these things in all 12 keys. The second way I want you to practice is by playing your modes over some very simple chord progressions that are really going to help you hear the sound of each mode. Here's how to find the chords to do that. Over Ionian, we're just going to play a 1-4-5. So in the key of E, we've got E, A, and B. For Dorian, we're going to play the minor of the root and then a major chord a 4th above. So in the key of E, that would be E minor and A. For Phrygian, we're going to take the triad of the root and the triads, major triads now, half step and a minor third above the root. So we would have E, F, and G. That's in the key of E. For Lydian, we take the major triad of the root and then a major triad a whole step above that. So we'd have E and F sharp. Notice I'm still kind of pedaling that E. For Mixolydian, you take the major triad of the root and the major triad a whole step below, so E and D. So for Aeolian, we're going to take the minor chord of the root, so in E that would be E minor, and then the major triads a whole step and 2 whole steps below, so E minor, D, and C. And lastly, for Locrian, we're going to take the triad of the minor third above, so in E that would be G minor, and then a major chord of fourth above. So we've got G minor and A. Or you can just play minor 7 flat 5 of the root. So that would be E minor 7 flat 5. And the last thing I want to talk about practicing today, it's kind of like a final exam. And that would be playing all 7 modes, one after the other, from the root. Let's run through those 7 modes, starting at the E note at the 7th fret of the A string again. And we're going to play through all the modes in 2 octaves this time. Ionian. Dorian. Phrygian. Lydian. Mixolydian. Aeolian. Lastly, Locrian. So there you have it, all 7 modes played from the root. Now I played those in the order 1 through 7 that they fall in the key, but you should mix them up, randomize those things. I hope all the examples and the ideas about chord progression help you hear the differences. Remember and really emphasize that key note in each mode that makes it sound different from its counterparts. Once you get these down in one key, it's super critical. You gotta practice them in all 12 keys. Thanks for checking out the channel. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch and taking the time to comment. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. As always, work hard, play hard, have fun, never stop learning. I'll be seeing you soon, and until then, happy guitaring. Bye.